I just wanted to tell you some updates here. So I recently went to Tractor Supply and I found this egg basket for only $4.50 plus tax would be $5. And while I was out and about, I collected the bigger avocados from my avocado tree. So this is really big. It's like in my hand here. I just found the low-lying ones and worked my way up collecting them. So here's 10 avocados in this little container, and it's the third time we harvested avocados. So that's 30 avocados, and we've been letting it ripen about 2 weeks or 10 to 14 days, and it turns black, and you ripen it over the countertop. It doesn't ripen on the tree, and it doesn't ripen in the fridge. So you have to harvest them and keep them on the countertop at room temperature, and it will ripen for you, and you can make guacamole, desserts with it, or just eat it straight up, or avocado toast. So many things, and it is wonderful. And I just used my rainwater to water it, so I'm not using too much municipal water to grow this. And I still have probably 100 more on the tree because the tree's really big and tall. It's probably like 15 feet tall right now, so I just can't wait to gather the rest of them. And over here, these are the peppers we grew. I think they're Anaheim chilies. The label got mixed up with the other chilies that I planted nearby, and it is right now it is about a 3-foot tall plant, and it keeps having little blossoms and making more and more chilies. Unfortunately, I can't wait for them to turn red, because lately it's been in the 70s in the day and in the 50s and 40s at night, and pretty soon that pepper plant may die. And I've been kind of moving mulch over to it and kind of keeping it kind of warm, trying to overwinter it. Hopefully I can do that. I've been putting other potted plants around it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to harvest as many green chilies as possible. It's about the size of my thumb. And I'm just going to eat them. They're like a medium heat. And I'm going to freeze some and keep some, like maybe 1 or 2 out. Or freeze all of them and then just harvest off of the plant as I need it. And then these are, what do you call it? Scotch bonnet or whatever they call it. Scotch bonnet chilies, and they're super duper spicy, like really bad, but they look so pretty. They look like little lanterns, and my mom had it planted in her garden, so I asked her for a couple. And because they're red, so mind you, I didn't know this. I was not a novice at gardening, but in order to use the seeds to plant yourself new plants, the pepper has to be red and ripe, fully ripe. So what happened was I bought some bell peppers from the grocery store, and they were green, and I was trying to grow them from seed, and no surprise, it was unsuccessful. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to gather the seeds from this and grow it next year. Even if I don't eat it, it looks pretty, and I can make hot chili. I can make hot chili sauces to eat, but I could also use it in a spray to spray my plants, a chili garlic spray to hinder pests. My nasturtiums are popping up. My basil are doing pretty good. They've been going to flower, so I've been cutting the flowers off and throwing back in the dirt to kind of keep the dirt mulched and keep it a little bit warmer on the surface for the plants. And So I've been growing this basil so that it's a little spicier, so a lot of pests don't bother it. So it grows really tall and big, and I've been breaking off the flowers and throwing it back into the soil, the garden bed that it's in, and other garden beds, because it's a spicier basil, and other pests really don't bother this plant. So I'm throwing the flowers into other garden beds to hinder the pests from bothering my other garden beds. So over here you can see all the little white blooms from my snap peas, and my daughter loves them, and I was asking her the other day, how do they form the pods from the flowers? I said, look for a plant that has the flower that's transforming into the pod, the pea. And so I think this is a good example here, that it goes from flower and then it starts to form into a bean or pea. My dahlia is doing fantastic. Here's another shot of the peas. They're doing so well. Here's that chili plant that's got all these little blooms and all these little chilies everywhere. Everywhere. So I'm just letting some of these mature a bit more. My bell peppers came back kind of late in the season though, so I've got about 4 bell peppers in here and then some blooms. So maybe they're a late season crop, I'm not sure. There are some more down there. So I've been just kind of putting these pots around the plant, and I mounded and hilled some wood chips up against it, and trying to keep it all warm. And my garden bed's doing great. The snap peas over there, some collard greens over here, some ashitaba along the edges, some cilantro, some volunteer tomato, a purple basil that I harvested from yesterday, some nasturtium. Here are more nasturtium near my snap peas. I didn't show you that. Look at that bloom. I harvested some of these leaves, washed them. They're really tender. They taste like black pepper. I harvested them to put into pasta as well. My itty bitty papayas from seed from the store-bought papaya are doing fantastic. I'm trying to water them every other day now. They said that in their first 2 years or 3 years you have to water them a lot, which I don't know. I know that when they get too much water they also die. And they're not true trees. And here are some dragon fruit, the ones I propagated from my parents or from my sister's plant. My gerbera daisy is doing so well. There are such big beautiful blooms, and for some reason I thought they bloom in the spring, which I think they do, but I think fall is kind of the other season that's similar in temperature. So it's doing really, really nicely. My basil are still hanging on, and I have lots of greens that I'm going to collect today for soup. These are the tatsoi, and it just keeps blooming and blooming from the center and out. Here's my bed of shallots and onions, and they're popping up. So excited to get some harvest out of this. My calendula is doing fantastic. Yarrow is doing fantastic. There's a lettuce leaf basil over there, some other purple basil. Marigolds are still alive. Calendula's doing great. This is my kaffir lime. It's starting to bloom new blooms, and while there are little immature limes on there and bigger limes, blossoms, new growth, and a huge couple of limes. So this basil is doing really fantastic, and I collected some leaves from the trees, fallen leaves, and I'm top mulching all my potted plants with various things, whatever I can get a hold of, and the plants are doing really nicely. It's just a protection for them on the top to keep water and to keep their roots warm. My pomegranate over there, my blood orange over there, way over there is my persimmon from seed, and it looks really lovely. I love the shape of the leaves and the texture. It's so soft. You wouldn't think it, but it is. So I guess I just learned that the blood oranges are a late season crop, so that's the reason why all summer and all spring it never bloomed, and suddenly it is blooming. So hopefully I get some kind of small first fruits out of it. This nasturtium that I'm planting in this pot of lychee is doing fantastic. I mean, I just cut some of the leaves off for pasta yesterday, and in here I snuck a basil in here too. They're both doing great, so fragrant, some beautiful blooms. And such bright colors in the fall and winter when everything's just kind of not doing very well. And I love the shape of the leaves. I love that they're round. It's so neat. And over here I've got my roses that I propagated. I really love this hot pink color, and I am so happy. I have 2 plants in there. I'm gonna have to separate them maybe in the spring when it's got enough roots, because if I do it now it's gonna get cold and they might die. The figs are sprouting new leaves. Some of them are fruiting. My apricot's losing its leaves. Ooh, this pineapple guava got big. I mean, it's almost twice as big as when I first saw it. And here's another. And because it's green with a silvery green gray, it's hard for things to spot it. So there are 2 more fruits right there. And even I have to carefully look around if I want to search for any fruit, which I will as the fruits get bigger. But that's all I do is I'll collect eggshells, leaves, different bits of detritus to put into the pots to keep feeding the potted plants and to keep the roots warm, because I learned from my mistakes from previous years when I just left it alone and they would freeze and I wouldn't have anything in the plants. The plants would die. So you gotta help protect and feed the plants that are in the pots, because throughout the winter they suffer and they just stay cold, and they don't get any type of nutrients. So that's what I plan to do all winter. My chrysanthemum's doing fantastic. The other one's looking like it's not doing too well. Let me show you. So this side of the mum looks pretty good, but some of them are starting to fade. But that's okay. I'll just deadhead it and it'll do okay. And this papaya is doing fantastic. I try to water it Good morning, everyone. So here I have more examples of a huge harvest. So this is just a bowl of about, 12 persimmons. My mom gave me a huge bag that was so heavy, probably weighed 50 pounds with persimmons, and I've given away 5 bags to several friends and family members. and we've eaten quite a bit, and this is what's left over. So it's a good example of growing your own fruit trees for abundance and for food security, and to give away to friends and family. And look at how lush and healthy these fruit are, and they taste like pumpkin pie, like spiced pumpkin. It has a cinnamony taste, and it's sweet. It's really delicious. And I love the texture. This is the crunchy variety, Fuyu, and there's another variety that is kind of pear-shaped or apple-shaped, and that one you have to wait till it's soft. But so it's an example of, if you grow it, you will have huge harvests, and you will love the fruit that you get because they're organic. You will have abundance and more than enough. You won't go hungry. You'll always have something to eat. And what's great about this is, so whilst your other plants are available, your other fruit trees provide fruit during the spring or the summer, this provides food in the fall and into the winter. You can freeze it, dry it, dehydrate it, eat it fresh. So I like to eat it fresh. And also there are recipes to make it into a persimmon bread and or persimmon cake. And these are available in the fall. So my mom harvests a lot of these, and same with the avocados. They're available in the fall, so, and into the winter. So I just gather as many avocados as I want, and then when it ripens, I eat it, harvest some more, let it ripen, eat it. And so you have food throughout the year if you plan wisely what kind of plants you want. But for me, it's what kind of fruit trees and what kind of food do I want to eat. That's what I want to grow. So I hope you get yourself a persimmon tree or an avocado tree and start growing bit by bit. Each tree provides so much food. I just recently saw a video in which a lady had grown she had many mango trees, but from 2 mango trees that she didn't let it grow too tall, it was maybe like 6 feet tall, she said she had 1,000 mangoes. I mean, that's more than one person can eat. But can you imagine that you can share that with your family and your friends, and they don't have to go to the store as frequently? And it also helps when there is a supply chain issue, and it also helps your community. If you have too much food, you can always bring it to a food bank or something like that. And you can also make foods that can last. So if you were to make persimmon bread, or if you have squashes and you make like zucchini and you make zucchini bread, you can freeze those and you can have them over time, or you can give them away and they will last much longer. So it can be converted to other forms, or it can be eaten fresh. So go ahead and grow yourself some plants and trees and have a lot of abundance and health and happiness. Thank you.